Welcome to the new video. In this video, we are basically making this quiz app, which is a simple UI. But in this video, we'll learn more about that basic concepts and how actually we can use that in the app. So what this app does is, as a quiz app, you just have to answer to the question. Based on your answer, it will either give you correct or wrong based by checking the answers. So without wasting time, let's get started. Okay, let's continue with building the quiz app. So I just made a simple UI where I've just made an app bar which state as a quiz app. Let me just go through the code. There's a two widgets we have kept. One widget is called my app, which is the entry widget, where it takes an app bar, and inside the body we just made an quiz app, which is a stateful widget. So usually the stateful widget is nothing but a body here, which takes up the data that can be controlled. So that's why we use the stateful widget. So as we saw in the demo video, we are making a quiz app. What is this quiz app? Which basically asks you a few questions to the user, and based on whether the user answered it correctly or not, there'll be a small scorekeeper, that is whether the answer is true or false. So we are trying to make an UI for that first. Okay, how is the UI? First we want a text and then two buttons. Then we want a scorekeeper, that is icons with yes or no, that is correct or right icons. So let's start with a column. It's a leviting widget where we want to keep everything vertically down here. So let's start with the column, and it takes first it takes a text, and later it takes a column which has a two button, and later it takes a score keeper, that is nothing but an icons. It's a row of icons. Okay, the text for creating a text, we have a widget called a text. Inside that, for now, let it be questions goes right here. Later we can just replace with the actual question. You don't have to worry. Make sure each element is separated by comma. The next element is a column which takes up a children, which has two buttons. The button we are taking is a text button. So the on press, let's keep it as null. On press is nothing but whenever click on the button, what kind of action or activity should be done. So let's keep it null for now. And for children, it's a text button. It takes a text. Okay, inside button, what we want a text. It says either it's a true or false. The question is all based on the answer can be only given as a true or false. This kind of question has been asked. So the first button has been ready. Just copy this, again come back down, paste second, and make that button as a false, and save this. The moment we save this, we'll get a few things where texts are too small, where it is not little visible. So let's go to the main text and let's add the text. To add this text style, we just use a property style, and it takes a text style which has a lot of it's a widget. Basically it takes a lot of things, like we want that font size to be increased. Let's increase to like 32. Fine, it's not bad. Let's give a font weight like a bold. We want font weight to be a bold, font weight dot bold. Then a letter spacing, let's give it a letter spacing 0. Yeah, we are good to go. And this text is good, but true and false, it is not looking like a button because of few things, like we have not given a proper the background color, or the text is not super visible here. So first let's start with styling of the text button. We have a style property which takes a text button class dot, which has a method called a style form. uh, which takes up a background color. Let's give a background color for the true. Since it's a true which takes a green color, let's give a background color green. And let's give a styling to the text. Okay, inside text is not visible, right? So let's give a styling to the text, that is takes a text style again, which takes a color as white. Okay, just make sure you reformat that code and just remove this and copy the same button, because we don't want to repeat the same line. To save the time, instead of true, just we have to just replace it a fall, and let's change this green to red, which will be much more good. Yeah, here we are. But the next thing is we want this entire, we want this button to be occupied entirely. So what I can just do is I can either give this button, text button, we can just wrap it with the container, and in the width I can just tell it as a double infinity dot double dot infinity, sorry. See, we got it. And I can even give a padding to the button. Let's give a padding to the button, so let it look a little big. To give a padding, I just have to give a property padding. Edge insights dot all. Let's give 16. Yeah, it's good to go. And text font, I can just increase the font size to like 28. Just see what we could do wrong. Okay, here we are. Just use comma and give font size 28. It's too big. Keep it as 24 or something. Then let's decrease this to 14. Okay, let it be this good. Let it be 16 only. No, let 14. Okay, let's stick to one thing. Let's not juggle between so many things. So we are not concentrating on UI for now. We have many things to learn here. So okay, the first container is done. For the second thing, I can just copy this and paste it, or you can do it manually, like by wrapping it everything, or I can do wrapping only. Just wrap the text button with the container. Make sure to give a width as infinity double dot infinity, and just make sure you give a font size to text as 24. I hope it's 24, right? Let's check, is that 24? It is 24, yeah. And also we have given a padding. Let's go here, just copy the same code, come back after the red, this color, just give the padding. It should be here. Okay, after this red, just give the padding. Okay, then both container is been giving with a proper padding and all. Just let's try to give a little sized box, that is nothing but a gap, and it is in the height wise. Let's give like a 10 or like a 20. 20 is a good number. Okay, here we are. You want the entire thing. Okay, the entire thing doesn't have a gap. It just occupied the full width. So let's give a little padding to this. Just go here, wrap the column with the padding, which takes a, let's give it 12. Okay, it's good number. Then let's keep the whole thing in the center. So in the column, we can just go to column. Let's make the main axis alignment as the center, so it sits on the center. And also after the text, we wanted a little gap like 100. Just copy the sized box, come down here, paste it, write it as 100 here. Okay, this far good. I feel like it's good. Just increase the fonts to 36. Okay, now let's try to replace with the actual text. Okay, I'll just paste some random yes or no question. Let it be, and just make sure this text what we have, just align it to the center. We have text align property. You can make text align dot center, which will make it to sit in the center. That's all it does. So let's go back. We are already did an UI, like half of the UI. We are done with the text. We are done with the buttons also. The next thing we want to concentrate is this scorekeeper, which is nothing but a row where it comes below. If the user they try to answer, their answers are correct, it will show the check mark, or else it will be false. So let's create a row. I'll show you how it looks. It takes a children. It takes the two icons. The icons with the check mark, which is in the color of green and of a size, let's keep it as like a 24. 28 is a good number. Maybe it could be visible, or just make it as 30. Okay, fine. The same way, just copy it down. We want one more icon. If in case the answer they have given is a false, just make this as red and change the icon to the close, which is nothing but a wrong. See, and just make sure you give a little gap for after the column, which like a 10. See, this is called a scorekeeper. Whenever the user answer it correct, just want to put it as a right mark, or else false, it's a wrong answer. Okay, we just completed the UI. We just have to add the functionality. Okay, before adding into the functionality, you have to learn a new concept here. So what is that new concept? If you observe this row, and if you observe the container, which is here, the container which takes the child, or if you see the padding, or any call, the child, padding as a child, or scaffold which takes only one child element. But any limiting widget, if you take, that is row or a column which takes up the children instead of child, because it can hold up more than one element, which has a capacity to hold a one or two elements. So if you think of it, that programming where which concept that, or which of the variable, or which concept that hold more than one variable is list. So if you have not watched my Dart series where I've thought about list, do check that out. So list is nothing but which is able to hold more than one element. So row is basically taking a children, which is nothing but a list. So let's go back to the Dart pad and see what is list. Okay, here we are in the Dart pad. Dart pad is like online compiler for if you want to learn a Dart programming. Okay, here we have a main function. Let's see what is list. List, basically you have to understand one thing about this is it is able to store more than one element, and it is very useful for us to keep a more number of element and get that element, and we can just manipulate that element. So there's a lot of advantage of this using list. So how do we create this list? First we use a keyword list, and you can just give a name to that list. Let's say score, and we can assign that. It's just like a variable we can assign, and this square bracket indicates, or it takes up more than one element, and each element is separated by a comma. Let's say score be the number. Each element is separated by comma. And there's also one more thing you can add next to the list, that is called a generic type. That will be inside this angular bracket. What it takes is the data type what it is storing. Let's say the scores is storing an array of the numbers, right, which is nothing but an int. So using this angular bracket, we can give an data safety to the this list called score, where it stores a int. If I try to store any other data type like a string instead of a number, it will throw me an error, and by this way I can keep my data safely. So if I try to just print the score, and if I try to run the button, what will be the expected output? The score is nothing but a list. It is trying to put the same output. It's just if you could see here, it is trying to pull the same values, and just trying to print it in the console. So let's say if I want to get an individual elements, let's say if I want to get one from this list, is how can I get each element is being indexed, each element can be placed, or it is been placed in the index of 0. It starts with the index of 0. So if I want this element, I can use the index value. What do you mean by index value is the each number count, it doesn't start with 1, 2, 3. It starts with 0, 1, 2. If I want 1, then I'll start with the index value, where index value can be enclosed within the square bracket. And if I hit run, what will be the output of the print? That is 1. See, as expected, we got the answer. In the same way, let's imagine if you want to add an element. Let's say if I want to add a 4 to the end of the element is, I just can use a method here called dot add. And what element should I have? I have to add a element 4, and make sure you just take this overall method, paste it here, then you can just print score, because this what method, the score method, what it is calling, it returns null, it returns void. Okay, if you are printing that, it should be something. So as expected, the score will be what? It will be including an array of 1, 2, 3 and last 4. Let's say if you want to add the same element in between, I can just use the another method called insert. I can use another method, that is insert. I'll just go back, instead of adding I'll just do insert. I have to insert 4 to where is the important. So first it takes which element to be where it should be added, which index we wanted to add it in the first index. We want to add what? 4 to the first index. If I try to run, what will be the output? 0, 1, 2, 3. So the the element 4 will be added to the index 0. See, at the index of 0 we got the element 4. Okay, this is what the list is means. You are just storing storing many elements. You can access the element, you can add the element, you can find the index using a method called index of. So let's go back to C and see where this list is used. In the code, if you observe, the list is being used in the row. See, the same way we are storing each element in the array. In the other language, list is also called as array. So let's try to create a list. Which basically stores the same thing. Instead of storing here, let's store it separately. Let's call it as list and give a name to the list called score keeper. Just like a variable we are storing in list. Okay, inside this we are just storing our icons. So we can just replace the score keeper with this entire list, right? We can just keep the store, we can just replace the whole thing, because we just created the list outside and we just using that name. But if you could see the children, what it is expecting, it is expecting a list of widgets, and what we are giving, a list of dynamic. See, here it is specifying that they want a widget. Here we are telling we are giving a list which is dynamic. Dynamic means which can store anything. We are not specific anything. So that's where we have to be specific about what type we are storing. We are basically storing widget, that is an icon widget. So you can just tell a widget. That's how the problem, the error will be solved. If you refresh the same thing, if you refresh it again, you will get the same thing, because we are doing the same. We just took the list outside and we are just using that name. Clear? Okay. The next thing is, let's keep this array, or let's make this comment. Let's let the score keeper be empty. Just make sure to reload everything. Let it be like the data with a 0. Let it be the score keeper 0. For now we have not answered anything. The next step what we want is observe properly. First you have to know one thing. Either if I click on true or the false, I want this question to be changing, right? And next we have to check whether the answer that the user has given is correct. Then we have to give the score keeper. So let's not concentrate on the score keeper now. We'll concentrate on the second step. What is the second step? First we want a list of question. Do we have a list of question? No. Let's try to create a list of question. The list of questions. So question basically a string, right? So the type will be string, and let it name as a questions, which is equals to, so the first question, let it be the same question. What is the question that we have mentioned here inside the text? Is the sky the blue? Yeah, just copy or cut it off. Come back here, paste, and let me store two more questions. Okay, here we are. I've just kept a list of questions. So these are the list of questions. So what we'll do, instead of hard coding this value, that is sky is blue here, I'll just go through I'll just use this question list, and I'll just render the text. How can I use that? Since it's an variable which is storing a list, how can I access the each element? Let's say if I want to access this element, I can just use the index value, right? I can just use a question of 0, which eventually will render the same question, which is nothing but the sky is blue. If I change it to 1, and if I refresh, it can change it to another one. Okay, this is fine. But you have to also know one thing. Instead of us explicitly changing this number in the last video and last app that we made, also I told you, we have to know which question or which where I am in the list of this question. To know that where I am in the list of this question, I have to keep and separate separate a variable holder or the question holders. So I'll just create a new variable that is able to actually keeping up or telling us, or it is has a hold of where the question is. So if you once this is in the variable, we can easily manipulate it whenever we want. That's why we are just keeping, instead of us explicitly saying each index, we are just creating a variable called question index or question number, and try to keep this as a camel case always. Let's change it to the camel case instead of capital 1. Okay, question number, let's initialize that to the 0, and instead of us saying 0, 1, 2, 3 and all, let's use the question number. The spelling is wrong, just correct the spelling. Number, fine. Okay, now if I change here, it will be automatically reflected, but we are not changing like this. How we are changing is, whenever either I click on a true or a false, I want this question to be changed. How can I manipulate that? I'll just go to the button. Here on press, what did we made? We just kept it as null. Instead of that, let's create a function that's anonymous function which doesn't has a name. Okay, basically what we are doing, on pressing the button, we want that question to be changed. How do you think the question will be changed? The moment when we change the index number, let's say if I change to 1, the question number will be changed. If I change to 5, do we have 5? Okay, let us keep it as 4. If I change to 4, again if I just refresh it, which is F4, okay, we don't have 4, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, question number of 4. Okay, let's keep it as 4. 3, I'll tell you why, the reason we got an error. You don't have to worry. So here we got a next thing. If I change to 2, we'll get one more very important thing, we are not separated with a comma, that's why, which is taking as a complete. So let's don't worry about it, just refresh it, make sure each element is separated by comma, that's why we are getting that. So now 2 is can dog talk like a human? If I say 1, which will be, can human breathe underwater? Okay, so here we are. Okay, so why do I usually clicking this hot restart? Because if I do hot reload, which is only responsible in changing UI, if you want to change data, to reset the data, we have to use this reset. Okay, then what is responsible here? By changing the number only, we can just manipulate the data, change the title of the things. So I'll just go here, I'll come back in the button section. When I click on true or false, I want that number. What number? The question number to increment, I can just use this, which is a short form of this. I can just write this. You can, question number, what we are doing, we are just incrementing, we're just adding, or we are changing the index number. If the question number is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. You got the point? So instead of writing this a big way, a long way, I can just use 2 plus, which means same. And the same way, if I click on the false also, I want that question to be incremented. I'll just come here in another container inside the null. Instead of null, I'll use an anonymous function. I'll tell question plus plus. Okay, let's reload it and let's see if the question actually changes. If I click on true or false, the question is not changing. So I'll give you a few seconds to think on this. Pause the video, think what you did in the last videos and all, and try to guess solution why we are not able to change a title. Okay, if you got an answer, it's good. If not, see, I told you in the stateful widget, you have to tell where the actual data have to be updated. You have to tell which have to be built. Usually where there's a little change also, the stateful widget will be building, right? But you have to tell this part, the data will be usually changing. When you tell the state widget that you have to change the whatever, you have to tell wherever the question number is there, you have to update that by specifying the set state. You have to use this set state to mention that wherever you see the question number, you change the whole, you rebuild the whole thing. So by using a set state, what will happen? It will understand to rebuild. Whenever there's a change in the question number, it will rebuild again. It's just like on use state, if you are familiar with the React. Question number. Okay. See. Just hot reload it. Hot restarter, sorry. So that the data becomes to the 0. It will be initialized to 0 again. If I click on either true, it will go to the next value. If I click false also, it goes to the next value. Okay. I hope we made a next step successfully done. But the next step we have to think on is, we have this questions. Yeah, we have the question. Either we click on true or false, it is going to the next question. But we have to know whether the questions, the user answers are correct or not. We don't have any list whether this, what is the answer for this, right? Let's create a list which has answers. So let's try to create a list which is nothing but a boolean, not a string, which contain a list of answer. So let's replace it with the answers. So is the sky blue during a day? Yeah, true. So just replace it with the answer. Okay, I've just made a list that store answers to all these questions. So this for every index, see, if the index 0, the correct answer is the index 0 of the answer list. So for the list of questions and the list of answers is been mapping, each element is been mapping. Okay, we got an answer, we got an questions. Now we have to check whether the what is the correct answer and the user's answer is correct. We just have to compare. How can we compare? See, from 2 button you can see whether user clicked on true, which means that user answer is true. If they click on the false button, which means that user answer is false, right? Now we have to compare that with what? With the correct answer. That is nothing but the that answer that we are getting from this array. So let's go to the on press of this button, each button. We are in the true button. Okay. So let's create a function. Let's say let's create a function called check answer where if they click on a true, which means they are passing an they're passing it as a true. They're saying that answer is true. Okay, I have to just create this method. Before that, I'll just copy the same method down here. Okay, here they're passing a boolean called a false. If they click on the false button, which means that they're passing an answer called false, right? So let's go up here and create a method called check answer. I hope it is the same way, or I'll just copy the same variable, so they'll be same. And this variable, it is taking an input called boolean, which is taking an input. Basically it is a user's answer it is taking, and based on user answer we are checking if that answer is correct. Before that, we have to know which is the correct answer, right? So how do you say which is the correct answer? How do we get a correct answer? We get a correct answer by how correct answer will be equals to answers, and on the question number that you are passing, on which question number you are passing, based on that we'll get an correct answer. Okay, but important thing is this user's answer that we are passing is true or false, right? Okay, wait, and we also want a question number. Okay, every time the question number increment, it will be updated here, so you don't have to worry. So if the user's choice, let's say if the user answers is equals to the correct answer, if it is equals to correct answer, what we have to add, we just have to add one icon to this scorekeeper where the scorekeeper is empty. Just have to add to the scorekeeper. How do we add an element or a value to the list? As we learned in the before like 5 minutes, that how do we add? We just have to tell scorekeeper.add. So what we want to add? We want to add an icon, and that icon is a green color, that is checkbox. Okay, let's say if that answer is false, if it is wrong, else condition, if you are not aware of if and else condition, how it works is, if is an keyword, inside that it takes a condition. If it is true, it will try to execute this statement, or else it'll come to the next statement. So do watch the basic Dart programming that I've taught you people. So here we have to just replace it with this icon. Just copy that icon, paste it right down here. Okay, here we are. So what we are doing, we are checking the answer. Every time the user gives an answer, we'll check if that answer is correct. If it is, we are just adding one icon below the score keeper. Okay, just reload everything from the start and let's see if this working. Okay, is the sky blue during the day? Yes. Then what is the expected output? It should be true. Yes. Can human breathe underwater without help? Answer is false. But let's give true and see is this working. Yes, our answer is wrong. That's why it has given wrong. So it is working fine. So let's give something. Okay, the moment when we cross to a certain things, like it goes to the 4. So let's see where it is getting problem. See, it is saying the range error because the question number, that is nothing but an index, starts with a 0. But the overall, the question is there, it starts with a 1. So what we have to do is, before it goes to the next question or before it is doing something, what did we do here? We just told it to increment, right? So let's remove it and let's give a proper statement to it. Okay, how do we give it? Let's say first let it check whether the answer is true or false. Fine, if it is true or false. Before that, what we want to check is the question, whatever the answer, the score, the idea, the question number, what it is there, is the question number is less than the questions dot length. So what it is happening is, if you get an question, if you go here and print a question dot length, it will give 1 2 3 4 5. There are 5 length. That is just count from the 1. Okay, there are the 5 questions, and it tells as a question length as a 5. But if you see the question number which starts with the index 0, so question number will always be less. If in case it is less, what we want to do is, we just want to execute everything here. Okay, we have to execute everything here, and we also want to increment the question number. Each time when it completes the thing, we just have to increment the question number to plus plus. Okay, else if it crosses more than the if it becomes more than, the question number becomes larger or bigger, greater than the question dot length, there'll be condition, I'll say, you see. So what happens is, first let's say the question number is 0. So 0 is less than the 5. Yes, it's true. It executes at the end of the statement, it becomes 1. And here it goes, is 1 is less than a length. Yes, true. It becomes 2. At the moment it becomes 4, right? It increments to 4. And check whether the 4 is less than a 5. Yes, it increments. It becomes 5. The moment when it becomes 5, and these things will be reloaded. And the next row is 5 is less than 5. No. So that's where the whole app crashes. So what we have to tell is, we have to just decrement the one of the length of the question. The question number usually starts with it's like 1 2 3 4 5, right? The total length is 5, but how many index that we get? It is like 0 to 4. So to get that, we just have to decrement it to the 4. Okay, now it will be on the normal, it will become 4. So if it is less, we have to increment this, or else we have to restart the whole thing. We just have to restart the question number to the 0. You have to go back to the loop. So once you have completed the the question, it have to become 0. The good way, or a good user experience is, you can add an alert. How can we add an alert is, we have a package in the pubget that is called this Flutter alert. So you can just install it. It just gives a simple alert. Okay, you can just install it by clicking on this and going back to the code. Here, open the terminal, paste a code, let it install, and from here let's see, let's take the import statement and come back to the example. So how do we use this? Is simple. It just takes an alert, and you can give us certain things like, yes, you can see is alert. It takes the contacts. You can give a title. You can give what type of alert you are giving. You can describe, or inside that alert you can give a button called as like reset it. So let's see how can we make it. So first let's paste the import thing, and everything is installed. So let's come back down here. So first we'll give an alert one. Alert is from the Flutter. We have alert dot. So how it is used, let's see in the example. Here it's just like alert, just copy the same thing. So in the code, let's try to paste this thing. Okay, here we are. So instead of a reflutter alert, just change it as quiz is done. Let's remove this. Okay, we can just write, you did great job. Okay, then we don't want alert button, we don't want all this extra thing. Okay, just remove this. Okay, let's see how it works. So we did a question number, we have set to 0, and we also make sure the score keeper you are seeing below, right, the true or false, we have to make sure the score keeper is also should be kept as clear. We can just use dot clear method to clear everything. In an array it becomes 0. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's restart the whole thing and try to click on random one. The moment when it finished, Okay, there's an error which says that package or flutter image dot close. Okay, it's unable because okay, we did something in the code, we just pasted that code, right? That's where the problem occurred. We'll check what it is doing. Okay, just restart it again, it will work fine. So we are in the beginning, so I'll just give a random answers to this question. The moment it cross, okay, you'll get an alert saying that you have did very good job, and it just restarts to again. So if you want to see how many are right, how many are false, you can change, or you can do the changes in alert only by just changing this alert into, you can just give the actual correct answers to this. But or else you can do also one thing, before this alert I can just give one more thing. Instead of showing this alert also, I can give one more thing that is called as future dot. I can use future dot, there is nothing but a future dot delay. Let's cut this. Let's write first future dot delayed, which takes a duration. Okay, let's make it as a const and duration, and we want that to be milliseconds. Let's keep it for 10 seconds. And the next thing it takes first is duration, next is an callback function. Inside that, what you want to delay, after like a 10 second we want this to be executed. Make sure you end the statement. Okay, let's reload it again. Instead of alert, I'm just giving a few seconds so that user can see what it is, then you can give an alert, it is also fine. Okay, I'll just try to enter random answer. After it gets finished, you can see how much you have answered. Then it will go back after 10 seconds, it go back to the normal. Okay, this is the normal way you can do. But how can we make this like a proper one? Because usually if you could see, it's an object oriented. We have 4 pillars to manage our code. And let's say for now we have created 2 lists that says a question and answer. What if there's more than that? What if there's more resources like adding an image, or it could have a many property like when did this question added, which category that belongs to? Do you think adding a lot of lists can reduce this? No. Don't you think the question and answers to be tied together will be more good or precise? Yeah. There's also another way that by creating classes you can make this way more better. So in the next video, let's see how can we make this way more better by using classes.